In this lesson, we're going to create our final straps. Alright, so let's go ahead and use these as the basis for our new straps. We're going to hold down Shift, we're going to drag those out, we're going to make sure that those are set to copy, and then we're going to rotate these 180 degrees. So now we want to use this geometry in such a way that we can copy it over. Now we've already used the modifiers and we want to be able to change its shape. And so in the last lesson we saw that if we wanted to change the shape of this object, we would have to go into vertex mode and make those changes as needed. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the details that we've already created here. And we're going to just deal with the loft object for right now, because that's going to be the most important. So let's right click and delete this object. And let's go to our loft and let's make sure we're under path. And let's go to line and vertex mode. Now notice as I'm going through all of this, I no longer get those warnings that I had from before. And the reason we don't have those is because we didn't have any dependent modifiers above our loft. So let's hit L on the keyboard to go to our left view. And I'm going to hit F3 and I'm going to take these vertices. Let's just move those into position. I'm not worried about the handles or anything like that at the moment. Just trying to get these positioned where I want them to be, and then we'll talk about how to straighten that up here in just a moment. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull that out, and then also this one, and we'll pull that out. So let's take our handles and let's straighten those up, and let's try to get the curves that we want out of this object. And there we go. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to pull these handles around, try to alleviate some of the rigidity in those polygons. So far that's looking pretty good. Okay, so let's take this one, pull that up too. And let me pull that one back some. Okay, so we're looking good. We're ready to go ahead and move forward. So we've got that top strap, so let's work on the bottom one. So with the bottom one selected, let's go ahead and right click and delete that editable poly, and then we're going to go to our path, line, vertex, and let's take these points out. So I'm going to pull this out here, and I'm just basically just going to pull this straight out for right now just to get us started. Now we can come in and start to modify the handles and adjust this shape altogether. Okay, looking at this, I'm going to go to, let's go to right about here, because we're still going to have that overlapping. We're going to be using this buckle again. So I'm going to pull this out, start to kind of just stretch out some of these vertices, get exactly that shape that I want out of this. And there we go. So now let's take the buckle and we pull that up over here, and let's just place that there. Let's hit F3 to go back to our shaded view, and I'm going to pull that back a little bit. And then now I need to take this strap and I need it to fit it through the buckle here. So just like so. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, I want to make my top strap a little bit longer. So let's take our path. Let's go to vertex mode again. So path, and let's make sure that we select that, and let's go to vertex mode. Let's hit F3, and I'm going to make this a little longer. So I'm going to pull it down to right about here. And by doing so, by elongating this so much, you're noticing that it's really starting to spread out the polygons that we had from before, and the strap really isn't all that smooth any longer. So how do we take care of this problem? How do we make these adjustments? Well, we can, because we're under the loft, we can add more segments, and I'll show you how to do that here in just a moment. But first, let's get all of these vertices in position as they should be. So let's move this down, and I don't want to move that beyond that vertex, as that can be a little confusing at first. So let's pull this down, and then we're going to take this one, and I'm going to leave it right about here. Then I'll come in here and start to make adjustments to the vertices and then also the handles. and get this to smooth out. Okay, let's take the buckle pieces, let's turn off vertex mode, and let's move those down into this area. Okay, so now back at vertex mode on our first strap. Let's take this one and let's pull it right up into here, and then I'm going to take this and pull it right along the back side here. So it should kind of fit like so, to where this part of the strap is kind of overhanging and it's coming right through that as it should be. Now again, this piece is not very smooth at all. So while I'm here, I'm going to go to my path, my loft object, and then we're going to go to our skin parameters. And here you're going to see our options, and let's take our path steps and let's just bump that up. Let's go to something like maybe 3, possibly even 4. I think 3 is going to get us right where we need to go. So under vertex mode, under our path, let's hit F3, and let's make some changes to our handles. Let's select those, grab our move tool, and let's pull those around. Okay, get exactly what we were looking for out of our shape. And that looks great. Okay, so we can come in, we can pull those a little bit closer. And there we go. So I'm happy with the shape of those straps now. So now we have the dilemma of, is it the correct shape? Okay, we need to modify the details just like we did with our other shapes. So you know how to do that using the Edit Poly modifier. Let's make sure that everything is fitting right where it should be. So under vertex mode, I'm going to make sure that this is positioned underneath the bottom. Okay, and that's going to fit right up in there, just like so. That looks great. Let's make sure that we have the top one set and ready to go as well. So I'm going to push that in, but I grabbed the handle by accident. Let's push that in. Might even pull that down some. And then I'm going to hit F3 and I'm going to grab that handle and pull that up, just kind of arch that, okay, down into the top there. Alright, so that looks really good. I'm really happy with the way that's turned out. Let's go to our loft. Let's add an editable poly modifier. So let's do Edit Poly. Go to Edge Mode and double click those edges. And let's use chamfer. Value of 2 just to keep that consistent with everything else. And then we're going to go to vertex mode. And I'm going to right click and cut this corner to the opposite side. And then we'll do the same thing here. And then we also want to go around the top, okay, as well. Now we need to go ahead and cut the top because we want the edge to be connected. So even though it's not going to be seen, we still want to do that. Okay, now that we have that, let's go to Edge Mode, select one of these edges right here in the middle, and let's try not to cut that. Select that edge, let's hit Ring, and connect. Let's do that 3 segments. Grab our Move tool, everything should be set to local. Let's go to Polygon mode by hitting 4, and let's select these 6 polygons, pull those straight down in the Z, and then let's select the 2 in the middle of that selection, pull that down in the Z. I'm going to hit Z on my keyboard to kind of zoom in on the selection. And then let's go to Edge Mode and then pull that straight down just to round that out. Okay, that looks great. And then finally, we need to do this one as well. So let's turn off Path, let's go to Loft, Edit Poly, Edge Mode, double click on these edges, holding down Control. Let's use chamfer, set our value to 2, hit OK. Vertex mode, and again the top and the bottom. Let's go ahead and turn on isolate mode. So right click, cut, left click here, left click on the opposite side, right click to end that cut process, start a new one, left click, and then right click. Go across the bottom. Okay. There we go. Now let's go to edge mode, select one of these edges, hit ring, use connect. Let's do 3 segments, hit OK. Go to polygon mode by hitting 4. Let's select these 6, pull those out in the Z on their local axis. Select these 2, pull those out in the Z on their local axis, and then go to edge mode, selecting these 3 in the middle and pulling those out in the Z. So that should give us the details that we wanted in those straps. Let's turn off isolate mode. We've got all of those set. You can go ahead and do your subdivision groups, okay, or your smoothing groups, I'm sorry. And let's select all 4 of these pieces. And let's make sure that we have just these straps. Let's turn off local view and go to view on a reference coordinate system. Let's hold down shift, drag that out to the left, and hit OK. Alright, so now we have our straps here. You may have to make some slight modifications to the positioning because the object itself has been modified. Some of it's pushed in a little bit further than others. You may even have to rotate those outward. Okay, so something like that. That's going to look fine. And then I'm also going to pull that down some. And then let's go to vertex mode on this one. And I'm going to make some slight modifications to this end here. Switch that to view. I'm going to hit F3 just to make sure that I get all of these vertices on the end here. And there we go. That looks good. Happy with the way that's looking so far. And if need be, you can select these. You can rotate those out a little bit and then even move those some. And there we go. So now we have all of our straps that we need for this. And now we're starting to get into the final details. So in the next lesson, I'm going to show you one more tool, and we're going to be using what's called the freeform tools. And because we have plenty of surface to draw on, the polydraw tools are going to come in really handy. So I'm going to show you how to use those next.